Computer. Hey folks, this is Karen Trepte, your productivity coach, the one who has some tech issues from time to time. And I am here with the wonderful Eva Gregory. And you know what? We're just going to get this done because I believe in getting things done. So let me introduce you. You are in for such a treat. Eva Gregory is known as America's Divine Guidance Coach and mentor to spiritual entrepreneurs. Eva Gregory is a master coach. I can speak to that. I love her. She's so compassionate and warm. She's a speaker. She's the author of several books and programs, including the Feel Good Guide to Prosperity, Money Mindset Breakthrough. Who doesn't want that, right? And Inner Guidance for Business Success. Her passion is teaching spiritual entrepreneurs how to tap into their own inner guidance and merge it with practical steps to create healthy, sustainable businesses from a place of purpose, passion, and prosperity. And I know you folks on there, you're all really heart-centered entrepreneurs, so you're going to love this. She is regularly featured on radio and in the media. She's also a recognized authority on the law of attraction and has instructed thousands on how to create a life deliberately using the law of attraction. As host of her own radio shows, she has interviewed some of the most influential thought leaders today and has had the honor of sharing the virtual stage as a featured speaker with Donald Neil Walsh, Jack Canfield, Mary Morrissey, John Assaraf, and Marcy Shimoff, among many others. Her latest book, Life Lessons from Mastering the Law of Attraction, co-authored with Jack Canfield, can be found in bookstores everywhere. So go get yourself a copy. And this is going to be fun, guys. This is the first time I've ever come to you in the dark on Zoom. We've been doing this like every week for I don't know how long, and all of a sudden Zoom just doesn't want to work. You know what? Eva's time is precious. I'm all about time and money, so we are just going for it. So, was there ever a time, Eva, when you or your business was in a hard place or a desperate situation where you doubted things were going to turn around, or were things just always easy and magical for you?
Well, clearly. One of my biggest messages is, of course, it wasn't always easy for me, and it isn't for anyone. And I think one of the things I think is really important for people to understand is a lot of times when they see people who have been in business for a while or they're already established, and they look at them and there is this assumption that, well, it just always works for you, but maybe not for me. And we've all had to pay our dues. Not that I have to believe you have to pay your dues, you know what I'm saying? But we all have it. It's just part of our human way of being. And it's also where, mindset comes in and inner guidance comes in and law of attraction comes in. And so, I have had to learn how to understand what it is that creates success in people's lives. So if I can do it, honey, you can all do it too. and I did, it started forever ago, but this was years ago when the software company that Robin, who is my other half, he and I ran software company, and we were struggling to the point where we were laying people off left and right. We couldn't meet payroll for those that were left, so we weren't paying ourselves. And we were struggling in this business like that for about 5 years. And we were looking for backers. We were looking for venture capital people to fund us. We had this awesome software program we had developed that, honey, without cash flow, all the greatest program in the world isn't going to help you. So, morale was really low. We weren't paying ourselves, so we could pay the employees that were left. Things were so ugly. We had creditors after us personally. We had creditors after us in the business. So the tension was really high. And I just remember at the time that if our landlord said, because we hadn't been able to pay our rent for a couple of months, if our landlord had decided to evict us at that time, we would have had to just leave everything and just walk out. We just did not have anything. We just didn't have it. And right about that same time that all this was going on was when I ran across this universal principle called the law of attraction. And I had been studying metaphysics for years, but I only understood it intellectually. And this is where I think a lot of people are too, even with law of attraction. They understand it intellectually. But I didn't know how to apply it in my life until I ran across the Abraham Hicks website. And for those of you who don't know who Abraham Hicks is, oh my God, run, do not walk.
I love her.
I know. To Abraham-HICKS.com. And the thing was, of all the studies I'd been going through, the way the law of attraction was explained was so crystal clear to me and so simple. It was like the light bulbs came on, the fireworks went off, and I got it. And so I realized at the time that once I started, like, I was a glutton for this, understanding law of attraction. And I understood that, hey, this was really working for the little stuff. But when it came to our business, that was when it felt like I threw everything I knew out about law of attraction, and I would go back into my old mode of operation. And I think a lot of people do that. You know, good parking places are fun to get and little things, but man, when it's something really big like this, it's like we just toss everything out and we go back to the old way of being. And so when you think about it, and I looked at it, of course, looking back later, I was like, oh my gosh, where has my focus been the whole time for all these years? It was on exactly what I did not want more of in my life. And so the focus, those thoughts were the engine, and that highly charged negative emotion I was feeling, it was like the fuel that was attracting and magnetizing even more of what I didn't want in my experience. And of course, the entire company was doing that. So I woke up one night, you know, sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., and everything seems even worse than it was before.
Yes.
Oh my God. I mean, how could it have gotten any worse? I don't know. But I did. I woke up, and for whatever reason, this time, I got this message that says, Eva, you understand law of attraction, but you're not walking your talk. And to stop all the action we had been in, all the dog and pony shows, all trying to get money in the door, and take the understanding of law of attraction and energy into the company just for the sake of shifting the energy of the company, starting with you.
Wow.
I know. It was a wow moment. And, you know, to be honest, I felt like we'd done everything else. I didn't have anything to lose by doing this because I didn't know what else to do.
Well, it must have been so scary, because if you thought, I mean, my gosh, you know, I mean, to be in that situation, and
yeah, it was
you can
really
even stay and where you're doing business. That's very
absolutely. And here it was. There wasn't like Robin's doing one thing and I'm doing another thing.
Right.
We were both in it together. You know, the ship was going down and we were going with it.
Yeah.
And so I trusted what I was getting. And the next day I went in and I talked about the power of law of attraction in the company. And we created this company-wide game. It was based on the prosperity game that Abraham Hicks offers. We called it our prosperity account. And the way I did it is we started on day one depositing $10,000 in this imaginary account. And then every day, folks in the company would post on this huge spreadsheet what they would spend their $10,000 on that day in the company. So every day we would increase that deposit by another 1,000. So day one was we deposited 10,000. By the end of the day, we identified what we'd spend that money on. Day two, it was 11,000, and we'd spend it by the end of the day. Day three was 12,000, and so on. Right. Now, the interesting thing was that folks started acting as if this was really happening. This was our imaginary account.
Oh my goodness.
And they started being really generous with each other. So like marketing was spending their money on sales department. Sales team was purchasing equipment for the programming department. And it was just amazing to see how our energy started to shift, even though this was imaginary. And the point of the game, really, it was just to get our focus on what it had been on for a very long time, which was everything that wasn't working, right? Yes. And to get it on something that felt better. Remember, that emotional charge is the fuel that drives what you're getting. And it was to get our focus on something that felt better than where it had been for a very long time. And it literally shifted the energy that we were carrying around. And what I have come to know is that the universe doesn't know if what we're focused on is real or imaginary, but it does know how we feel. It knows what vibrational frequency we're in, and that is what is attracting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it picks up the essence of that, and in a funny kind of way, just like it assumes it's real. And whether it's your current reality or not, if you continue to focus on it, which is what we were doing. And that prosperity account showed us that no matter what we did today, there was always more money in the account the next day than there was the day before. And so if you were to actually play this game for a year, starting with $1,000, we started at 10, okay, you would have spent over $66 million in your mind. Wow. And when your focus is there, even if it's imaginary, it is stretching your mentality. It's stretching your wealth mentality, until you do start to attract more in your life than you had previously, no matter how long this has gone on, no matter what you've done before. And within 9 months of beginning this process in the company, someone we never heard of approached us about buying the company out, lock, stock, and barrel. And we literally went from living paycheck to paycheck when we even got one, to successfully selling that business for a very hefty sum of money. And the day it legally changed hands, Robin and I were in the Grenadine Islands on a 42-foot catamaran, island hopping with friends. This is the power of law of attraction and inner guidance. And it was, at that time, the most transformational turning point in my life.
That's amazing, Eva. I mean, I can just see it when you start. I mean, most of us are not thinking about what we're going to do with millions and millions of dollars. Sure, I have ideas of what I want to develop on my land and so forth, and I know it will be in the millions. But actually taking that exercise, and everybody in your company was doing it, was figuring out nicely where that money was going to go. And then I love the part where you say that they're sharing with each other.
Oh, the energy was crazy.
That is powerful, because that alone, with that sharing mentality and everybody on board for, wanting to be there and support the company, instead of thinking about, well, we're going to ditch this ship and where are we going to, what other ship are we going to go on? That is fantastic. That's really wonderful. So what does the understanding of the law of attraction have to do with tapping into your guidance?
And I really credit my understanding of law of attraction for being able to get the information that came through to me that night. But so I'm assuming that everyone understands law of attraction, but let me just lay out my understanding of the way I see law of attraction, just so everybody's on the same playing field here. Because basically the law of attraction just says whatever you put your focus on, your emotions and your energy, you will get more of in your life. Here's where I put the emphasis. It is the emotion. It's that emotional charge I was talking about. Whatever emotional charge you have on something, when you're focused on it, you will magnetize similar situations like that. Sometimes it feels like you keep getting the same thing over and over again. That's why. Well, your emotions, when you're tapping in and you're feeling the emotions and you're reaching for something that feels better, your emotions are your guidance at the most fundamental level. They are not just knee-jerk reactions. That's the way most people see emotions. And we can be in the habit of that, right? Of just having a knee-jerk reaction. But when you understand that, man, it's your guidance. It's telling you what's your truth and what isn't. When you're moving in a direction you don't want to be moving or not, based on how it feels. That's your indication when you're feeling better, when you're getting relief of your connection to source energy. So when the emotions you have are negative, that's just your indication that you're disconnected from your inner guidance, because your inner guidance isn't going to go there with you. So just know that if something feels contracted or heavy or resistant, you cut yourself off from your inner guidance. And when you're feeling something that feels light and fun and easy, or has you feel just a little bit better, now you've tapped in. Very fundamental level. But that is where you start to learn that how to begin to create in your life using the law of attraction by trusting that inner guidance, that emotional well-being.
Well, just to throw this in here, Eva, and I just got a thought too. I might try dialing into this from my phone and see if that actually works.
That would be awesome.
But, you know, Fun is like both of our middle names.
Yes, Fun is number one. Don't forget it.
I think I'm going to try it. My audience knows me well enough. We're going to just join a meeting from my phone.
Awesome.
I didn't want to do the whole thing on my phone because I really wanted to feature you, which we're doing. And that's still the whole intent, but let's just see if maybe that works.
Awesome.
And we'll just play with it for a second. Well, here I am.
Awesome.
Very funny.
Right. Okay, so I see your hand.
I don't see have to do is put this.
There you are. There you are.
Okay. Anyway, thanks for being so patient. Well, I think because I was maybe on Zoom yesterday, and who knows? I don't know about tech. But anyway.
Awesome.
This is really, really, I just wanted to show my face and my support and just how much I love you, Eva. I mean, you've really made a huge, huge impact on my life, and anybody who works with you is lucky. Let's just put it that way. So we'll talk about that at the end, but seriously, this is, and I love Esther Hicks too. I love her work. I mean, I love how she talks about like baby stepping up our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely.
Do you want to tell them about that a little bit?
About
how you do that, how you baby step up your feelings. If you're feeling really angry or something, actually, maybe because I've been with you, I haven't been that. I thought, oh, what a difference. I know I'm going out on a tangent here, but I think it's valuable for people. Like, what a difference from when I first started working with you, when these tech issues came up. I mean, we hit a firewall. My first webinar when I was in China, like, and I was so freaked out. Now I'm like, whatever. We're just gonna make it
happen. Big deal.
Because tech is just what it is, and anybody who's an entrepreneur online knows that this stuff happens.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you want to tell us about, see how this works here. But anyway, if you want to tell us about how to step up your feelings, I think that's really a valuable.
I think it's really key too. Because here's in the Life Lessons book, Life Lessons for Mastering the Law of Attraction, we have a whole chapter called Baby Steps Lead to Avalanches.
Okay.
And it's about the power of baby stepping. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people, they just say, I want a quantum leap. You don't, I promise you, because you're not vibrationally up to speed with it. So it's kind of like making the big jump and then sliding back because you really weren't ready for it. And so it's the same thing. And baby steps feel easy. And because they feel easy, you don't have all the resistance that you would have if you're trying to make this big leap. And then it also proves to yourself, oh, I just made the first step. Oh, I can do that. And then the next step, oh, I can do that. So the way it works with your emotions is that whatever emotion you have, first of all, let me just say something here. This is something I see happen so many times with people in law of attraction. Please don't be afraid of your negative emotions. Please don't pretend you don't have them. Please don't stuff them down.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a negative emotion, you have a negative emotion, and it is giving you feedback. And so contrast has its place. Now, we don't want to hang out there because it's not much fun, right? But wherever you are, if you find it a negative emotion, and then you ask yourself, just, how do I want to feel? I just want to feel a little bit better, just a little bit better. And you can you can reach for a thought that feels just a little bit better. If you're in despair, sometimes that next feeling is just like a little less despair. Nothing more than that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I went through this during that whole time in the software company a lot. I shared that story in 9 months. We had this magnificent thing that happened. But let me tell you, during that 9 months, do you think just because I brought that game into the company that everything was perfect and hunky-dory? Not. We stopped doing all the action stuff we were doing. It was helping soothe our energy in the moments that we were playing that game. But there were still times when, like, we were not happy. I was still going home and having panic attacks at night. I was still having to, like, keep people off of me as far as calling for bill collectors and stuff like that. But I knew in the heart of hearts how much the law of attraction really does work if we will allow it. So people are, a lot of times they say, well, what doesn't work for me? And I'm going, oh, it's working for you, honey. It's not what you want, but I promise you it's working. So I was determined to prove that I could shift this just by shifting energy. And so I was spending a lot of time in my days, and especially at night, just shift, like, what would feel better right now? And there's lots of processes that you can use. The What If Up game, I love. It's one of the most simple and powerful games that I ever have offered people. I've been using it for decades myself. And so it would just be to feel that little bit of relief. And just by getting that little bit of relief, you're telling yourself, I was able to do that. And if I can do it I can do it one more time and inch my way up. And I can do it again and again and again until you finally get to a point where you're feeling better. I will tell you, there were times at night, and I would be there and nothing was working. And I would just lie in my bed and I would just say, I just want to feel good. I just want to feel good. I just want to feel good. Please, God, I just want to feel good. That's all I could do. And it would happen. Eventually, I would start to feel this little relief shaking out. And it felt like heaven. And, sometimes it wasn't that long. It felt maybe even the longest that it took was 10, 15 minutes, which felt like an eternity. When you're in those awful places, yeah. It feels like an eternity. Mm-hmm. And man, when I got that relief, it was like, oh, thank you. And then I could go on. But just having that relief, I just want to say, wherever you are on what we call the vibrational scale, the emotional scale, wherever you are on it, when you feel that relief, you have just opened yourself up to creating a very different near future than you were a minute ago when you weren't feeling that little bit of relief. And there are times when I will, like, oh my gosh, I'll be with a client and they're just, I want to feel good and I want to feel hopeful. And I'm going, I just want you to get angry. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore, because there's more power in that. I don't want them to stay there.
Right.
If you think about when you're moving up the emotional scale, if you're going from, actually you could be down into suicidal, really. And then you're going into just deep despair and depression. And then from depression, there can be just frustration and annoyance. And then what I really want to get to is I'm angry. I am pissed off about this and where I am and why I'm here. Because now, even though it's blame, it feels so much more powerful to be in that blame place. And then from there, you can still inch it up, and then you start to move forward again. So it's not to stay there. So I'm just saying, everybody listening in, I am not telling you to hang out in those places. But I am saying, if it takes you getting to less negative energy, emotions, because you can't do the quantum leap thing, then be willing to go there. Be willing to go there, because that's what you're wanting to bring it up and into the light. And what people are doing is they're going, oh my God, we shouldn't be negative. And then you're pretending it's not there. It's going to erupt, and it's going to be worse than if you willingly walked yourself through whatever emotion you need to walk yourself through to get to the other side of this.
It's very exciting. And I'm so happy that you're clarifying that. I just think, I felt that way before myself, like, I shouldn't be feeling all these negative emotions. I'm a positive person, and I am a positive person.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny for me to hear you say, my husband's a different personality type than I am. So I grew up in Japan, so things are softer. Things are like, my tend to put things down instead of erupt in anger. Anger is not usually my style.
Right.
But unless you get me really, really, that it does happen. You can ask him. But
I'm sure.
Yeah, once in a while, and then he's scared. But just the fact that you're saying this energy, I mean, he will lash out. That will be like the way, like his personality, like what he's kind of trained to do. But it's really fascinating for me to hear you say, well, that's bringing his energy up. And then actually, the way he does it, I've learned, we've been married over 30 years. Let's see, it'll be 37 years this year, which is awesome. And it's gotten better every year. And so I've learned to not only honor him, but appreciate that I'm not, really self-righteous. It's not really all my way. It's really, there's a lot to learn. But he's over things so fast.
Yes,
Like,
there you go.
He'll blow up like that, and then he's done. And it's like, what are you mucking around for? Like, right?
Right.
So that's really healthy to just know that energy can lift even that way.
Yeah, it's very interesting because years and years, in another lifetime ago when I was a child, I just remember my grandparents and my grandmother so laid back. Both of them were actually so laid back and just easy. And then all of a sudden, I'm over there and she's like jumping down Granddad's throat, and she would call him George Cephas. I don't know where that name came from. George Cephas. But she says because she went to the doctor and she was getting ulcers because she was being so like laid back, and they were saying you need to share your feelings. And once it was explained to us what was going on, and then it became funny. Like they were funny, and they even knew it, and then they were done, right? So didn't even understand, the power of law of attraction back then, but she totally got it and got into it. And she too was like immediately over it when she did that. And then it really did become funny. Like it was, so nothing ever stayed, really heavy or serious. But it kept her from having ulcers too. But this is the reason I say that, because so many people think they aren't allowed to have negative emotions. Your negative emotions are just feedback, and they're letting you know, hey, whatever's going on right now is in opposition to what I know is my truth and what's my inner guidance is calling me towards. Mm-hmm. There's a belief that you're not getting something that you want most of the time is when we get into those places. Yeah. Right?
So what do you think, what do you see hindering folks from accessing their inner guidance?
Yeah. So three of the biggest things that I see. The first is you're in your head, not in your heart. That's what we were talking about. We're up here trying to do, solving our problems by being into action. That's exactly what Robin and I did in the software company. Rather than in our heart, like, okay, I'm feeling contracted. I don't feel good, and I want to feel better first. And so it took, of course, my finally listening to my guidance and then trusting it enough to take that whole prosperity account process into the company, which paid off in a huge way. But just know you're in your head. What I tell my clients is, all right, imagine this rope ladder and you're dropping it from your head down into your heart, and now climb down that rope ladder into your heart. Yeah. And then let's talk about taking action, moving, making decisions, going forward from there. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you're asking for help, but you already have an idea that the solution has to look a certain way. So when it doesn't look that way, you completely miss it. This is also very huge. And I always share this story that everybody probably heard ad nauseum, but it just so makes the point. And it's the story of a flood, and the flood waters are rising, and there's this guy on the stoop of his house, and the truck comes by, and the guy in the truck says, get in, I'll save you. And the guy on the stoop says, I've got faith in God, I'll wait on God to save me. And of course the flood waters keep rising, and the guy goes to the second floor of his house, and a motorboat comes by and says, hop in the boat, I'm here to save you. And he says, I've got perfect faith in God, I'll wait for God to save me. And the flood waters keep rising, and pretty soon they're on the roof of the guy's house, and a helicopter comes by and lowers a rope, and the pilot says, climb the rope, we're here to rescue you. And of course he didn't get in, and he drowns. And so here he is, he's in heaven, and he said, where did I go wrong? I had perfect faith in you, and you let me drown. And God says, what more do you want from me? I sent you a truck, I sent you a boat, I sent you a helicopter. We do that in our lives. We think inner guidance has to look a certain way. And so I would just say to all of you, where are you struggling in your life? Maybe you're being shown the way. Maybe you're being given answers, but you're so fixated on your solution or your answers looking a certain way You can't see them or hear them even when they're being presented. And sometimes they can be just as mundane as that. Like all guidance isn't like the clouds part and this voice comes down on high, right? It happens in just with the baby step kind of thing. It happens in sometimes very subtle ways. And so start being open to what's right in front of you and pay attention. And then the third one is you actually are listening. It's the biggest thing. You're not trusting. So you're not taking action even though the guidance is there. And I share this story about a client of mine. It's been a while now, but I remember when she first came to me and she talked to me about how she had grown her company to 7 figures and she decided to bring in this business partner. So of course, being as methodical as she was and still is, she did all the right things. She did her due diligence. She hired an attorney. She drew up letters of intent. She did her background research. She did it slowly. She did it methodically, which is the type of person she is. She did everything she was supposed to do. And she took on this new business partner. And then when she came to work with me, she said, you know, Eva, the whole time I had this sick feeling in my stomach. And even though on paper everything looked okay, it wasn't logical. See, this is the thing about guidance too sometimes. It's not necessarily logical. And if you're trying to find a logical answer, logically everything said go for her. And so she ignored that. And she brought in her business partner. And when she got ready to sell her business due to some very underhanded actions of that business partner, her company, which was worth 7 figures at one time, wasn't anymore. That whatever had gone on had driven the valuation of the company into the ground. So practically, she'd done everything right. There was not anything from a practical side you would say you could do any differently. And still, she lost her company. Now, when we started working together, she could see what that outcome would have been if she just stopped and employed some of the principles I teach around guidance for 10 minutes. And she said, 10 minutes could have meant a 7-figure success story instead of a 7-figure mistake. And even as painful as that was, she did learn how to tap into her guidance and trust it. And she was, and this is going to sound so not logical. Anybody from the outside looking in would say you're nuts. But she was guided to drop the lawsuit she had filed against that ex-business partner. And she was told to let go of that anger and take that energy and focus on building her new business, which she did, bless her heart. And she has another highly successful business today. So even when you're being guided, if you don't trust it, you won't act on it. And so this is where mindset comes in, because your mindset is saying, but I don't trust doing that. And so even when you're being guided, you hold back because of that. So that's why it's so important to really learn to trust the guidance that you're getting and to actually act on it. Mm-hmm. The big T is what I call it. Man, it's the thread with everything I teach in all of my guidance programs. It's the trust all the way through.
I love that, Eva. I mean, really, I have just been so outside the box myself for my whole life practically. And just kind of going with the flow, going with my intuition from one thing to the next. And it's really astounding to me over and over. I'm just so incredibly grateful, how things just work out.
They can, for sure.
I trust.
Yeah.
I recently came into this opportunity, and I won't go into that too much here, but it's changing my business again.
Oh.
And things are just just flowing in. And I'm just seeing how all these pieces of what I've done up until now are just playing a part. And I've seen that in my life over and over again. I mean, I've seen it. I've been in a situation where we almost lost our house many, many years ago, and my children were very little. I remember the attorney telling me, don't give up. Don't stop. You wait until they come and they lock you out of this house.
Wow.
Seriously, that was the advice he gave me. Don't stop. You don't know. You don't know what tomorrow is going to bring.
Right. That's true.
And we not only stayed in the house and kept the house, and it all turned out very rosy and made a ton of money off the house, but that would not have happened if I'd gone into a different energy of
Yes.
not just. So I remind myself, I mean, obviously my life has not just been all one uphill either or one downhill either. We all get to have experience a lot of different things. But that's one of the strategies that I use when things do get tough,
Yeah,
is
that's
I
right.
just kind of narrow my focus and focus on what I'm grateful for, like right now, and how I'm going to make it through tonight. Or, you know, if it's an even tougher situation, I could break that down to
Right.
how am I going to make it through this hour or this minute. So you talk a lot about mindset, and that's so powerful. And you have a mindset mastery formula that you teach.
Yeah.
Can you share that with us, please?
Absolutely. You know, and just following up with what you just said about, you know, stay there until the very last minute. One of the things that I use a lot, because when we're being guided, it's like I said before, you don't ever know the end result. You just know the couple of 100 feet in front of you, is to come back and say, you know what, a lot can happen between now and tomorrow, or a lot can happen between now and next week.
Yeah.
Totally just soothes my energy when I'm in those places.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about mindset, another near and dear to my heart. Because really what I've learned as I've gone through this experiences myself is that 99% or more of your success comes from two things. It comes from your inner guidance and your mindset. Those two elements together will transform your life and your business. So if we look at mindset from the perspective of law of attraction, so first of all, the formula is thought plus emotional charge plus action equals outcome. Okay, so thought plus emotional charge plus action equals outcome. So if we break it down through the perspective of law of attraction, you have a thought, right, or a belief.
Right.
That thought or belief creates an emotional charge, a feeling within you. How you're feeling emotionally will determine the action you take or don't take, which results in a certain outcome. So thought plus emotional charge plus action equals outcome. It's really important to get this. So for example, if your thought is, well, I'm afraid I won't succeed. What if I fail? Then there's an emotional charge that's a negative charge. There's anxiety, there's fear. Then when you have that emotional charge, you have a thought as a result of that emotional charge.
You don't want to do anything.
No, and it's fear. You feel scared. And then when you take action from that place of fear, you are going to get results based on that kind of energy. You're going to reflect that fear. Because you're afraid you won't succeed, you'll do things like you'll sabotage yourself, you will procrastinate, you will let opportunities pass you by even when they're being offered to you, and even more so, you will miss opportunities that are right in front of you because you're not aligned to be able to see them. And so as a result, your mission, your message doesn't get out in the world in a bigger way, and you play small. So that means as a result of your mindset, even when you're being guided, your higher self, your guides are calling you forward, your mindset is holding you back. So in order to act on the guidance you're given, it's important that you make sure your thoughts, emotions, and actions are in alignment. That puts you in alignment with the success that you do desire. And so therefore, the actions you take will give you positive results. So if any of you are not experiencing success, or you're struggling in your business or in your life in some area, all it means is that one or more parts of that formula are out of alignment. And it means your mindset is running you. And so you got to release that it's an ego mindset and come from the more abundant mindset of your soul, of your higher self. And you do that, once again, by focusing on what it is that feels better to you. So let me just do something quickly here to see if we can demonstrate this. And so we'll talk about business and money because that's very popular, right? It's always money's at the top of the list. So here's some of the, just, and I would invite all of you to create your own lists, but you probably have thoughts like, or you could have thoughts like, well, it's just so hard to make money. It's a typical one. Another one I love, you can't be spiritual and be wealthy. Or I'm just no good at business. Or I can't charge a lot for what I offer and get it. Another one I love, sales and marketing are sleazy and manipulative. Or what if I put myself out there and I get rejected? So all of these thoughts, if you were to identify the emotional charge that has on you, you're going to notice that you're going to feel something like anger or resignation or fear or frustration or despair or sadness. It's going to be some negative emotion, right? And then as you're feeling that, if you think about the decisions you've resulting in actions you've taken in the past as a result of those types of thoughts and feelings, were those decisions made from inspiration or disconnection, fear? Because when you're making decisions and you're taking actions from fear, you're not acting on your truth or your potential. And you're certainly not listening to your inner guidance. And so until you choose to listen and to shift your mindset, then you're going to continue getting the same results you've been getting in your business and your life. It's kind of like just a cycle that you get into. So how do you know what's your truth and what isn't? By the way it feels. By the way it feels to you. So your soul, your inner guidance, your higher self, it's always going to let you know when you're focused on your truth or not based on how you feel. So it comes back down to that emotional guidance system again. And so if you create a list similar to this and you go through your list, and if something doesn't feel good when you read it or you say it, then be excited because it means it's not your truth. You don't have to buy into that. It's not your truth.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. And you've talked about opportunities a couple times, Eva, and it just so strikes me. I mean, for me anyway, how that's worked out. Like we have these visions, right? We have these dreams and we just don't know always how it's going to happen.
Right.
Just keep the faith going and just keep that feeling and trusting the intuition going. And then be brave.
One step at a time.
Be brave. Like, opportunity come my way is like, flowing in like, okay, just take it. Go with it.
Yeah.
Why not? Now, come on, guys. Why not? I mean, life is short, so
yes.
Why not? Well, you have been so incredibly helpful, and you've been telling people what to do if they're struggling in their life right now. I think we just went through that whole process. So I'm going to wrap this up and just say thank you so much, Eva, for coming on the interview with me. It's just like the circle coming round. It's really, really fun to see you, to send you love in person, and we'll put a little something under this recording. We'll let the tech gurus figure
it out, right?
But anyway, thank you so much for coming on with me. And
thank you for having me.
Yes, Eva. Wonderful. Okay, so here we go. Let me figure this part out on